it's important to know that we can't reverse the damage that's already done. Carbon emissions are astronomical, and there's no way to bring what's into the atmosphere back down.
The climate crisis is nothing new, and its threats and long-lasting impacts are only growing worse with time.
I remember learning when I was in 6th grade about how a 2-degree difference in yearly temperature would basically be catastrophic. It would essentially ruin the entire planet. And you keep seeing the daily average temperature trends being plus 30 above average, and of course it normalizes out to less than 2 degrees above average, but it's rapidly increasing. And it's if people ever want to have kids, if people ever want to have futures, they need to be able to care, or else they're not going to be able to have kids or futures that are successful.
We grew up learning solely about the globalization aspect of climate change, as if it was some distant battle for politicians to deal with. So why now should members of the MSU community be increasing our attentivity to this issue?
I think a lot of us have seen a lot of the effects pretty recently. We've gotten virtually no snow, and because of that we had those huge floods earlier, and you could definitely see that the weather is a lot warmer. 70-degree days in February aren't normal. So I think those are some pretty big ways that climate change has already been affecting East Lansing.
As Maddie stated, she is not alone in these findings. MSU entomology professor Gabe Ording shares similar observations.
You can't argue that we haven't already begun to feel the effects. In fact, I think this summer was really striking for lots of folks. Anyone who's in the Midwest, certainly here in East Lansing, we saw the effects of the wildfires that were taking place in Canada, and we think, oh, that's so far away, that's not going to have anything to do with us. But in fact, we were affected by the smoke. We've had increased occurrence and severity of tornadoes in the state of Michigan. Thunderstorms, most severe events are enhanced. And those are all things that we're feeling here in East Lansing.
I think people don't care enough, and I think it is a very large issue. And I feel like people should do their own research and figure out what they can do to take their part in saving the earth.
Simply adopting a few new habits is sometimes all it takes. There are many small actions that can end up making more of a difference than you would think.
There are the individual personal choices that we can all make as students or as members of the East Lansing community. We can opt to walk as opposed to drive, or we can ride our bikes as opposed to drive, or we can take the bus as opposed to driving. When we're grocery shopping, we can be mindful of where those items come from, attempting to reduce our carbon footprint by trying to buy local.
Well, I think a huge factor in climate change is our culture of consumerism. Buying secondhand is super important. MSU students are super privileged to have the MSU surplus store and recycling center. I outfitted my whole dorm from the surplus store. My fridge, my microwave, my lamp, it's all from the surplus store. And buying secondhand is important because it reduces carbon emissions, so you're not ordering something online and it comes from a different country and the shipping creates carbon emissions. And it also prevents plastic packaging waste because when you order something new, it comes packaged, but when you buy something secondhand, you just buy it as is.
Even the small things like turning your lights off when you're not using them in your apartment or house or dorm, or keeping the heat at a low temperature in the winter and not just blasting it, and then stopping littering and picking up litter where you see it. There's recycling.
It is good that we have a lot of recycling centers within dorm buildings, and it's important to actually recycle and separate your recyclables from your trash in your dorm room, because we have individual bins for all different kinds of recycling: mixed paper, cardboard, bottles, the clamshell takeout boxes can be recycled too. So it's important to use those resources. You should also just be mindful of that you share this environment not only with other students, but with other people who just happen to live in East Lansing as well, and other animals that live in East Lansing as well. So if you notice some trash on the ground, pick it up.
But I think it's also just being conscious and helping encourage other people. Yeah, this is everyone's issue, so reminding your friends.